Okay. Okay. Yes, good morning, guys. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing good. Okay. Here we go. Okay, it's fine. So today we complete the filter topic. Only one filter left. There is narrowband reject filter, and that is all pass filter. That's very simple. We'll look into that and we'll jump to second part of the unit. That is oscillators. Okay, so we'll okay, 24 on the okay. Okay, so let's start. Almost 5 minutes into the class. Okay, so last class we discussed what is on the line. Okay, let me minimize this so that let's go. I think we discussed wideband rejection filter. Okay, so we also discussed simple design of wideband rejection filter. Mm, what is on the line? Okay. Band reject filter. Okay, yeah, wideband reject filter. I think we discussed this numerical problem also. Mm, yeah, this we discussed. Okay, let us jump to narrowband. Just give me a second. I'm getting a call. Give me just a minute. To Okay, sorry, I got a call and okay, here we go. Narrowband reject filter. Okay, so the major difference, wideband reject filter, this this gap. Um, Hold on a second, somebody's on the line. Okay, so this gap, that is between FH and FL. Okay, our intention is to allow range of frequencies from FH to FL. Okay, so where FH is less than FL, this we discussed in the last class. In a reject filter, FH will be less than FL because FH is the upper cutoff frequency of low pass filter. This as we discussed in the last class. Whereas FL is the lower cutoff frequency of high pass filter, as we had discussed. Okay, so the wideband reject filter, FH and FL gap exists, so it allows a range of frequencies. Okay, whereas on the other hand, narrowband reject filter, the our goal is to allow only center frequency. There is FN. Okay, here it is called as FN because it is a narrowband reject filter. Okay, yeah. So let us look into that narrowband reject filter. It's also called as a notch filter. I think in the beginning we discussed. It is also called as a notch filter. Somebody is on the line. Okay, yeah, here we go. For rejection, it is used for rejection of a single frequency, such as let us say 60 hertz power line frequency. Okay, there's a it's there is a there's a noise. To reject a particular frequency, we use a notch filter or a narrow band reject filter. So only one particular frequency has to be rejected, but other frequencies has to be allowed. In that case, we go for a what is known as a narrow band rejection filter. Okay, so the most commonly used notch filter is the twin T network circuit. Okay, so which is shown in the below. We'll discuss that circuit now. So this is a passive filter composed of two T-shaped networks. Passive because it is made of RNC components. Okay, so the circuit which is not made of any active components is a passive filter. Wherever there is a transistor or op-amp involved, we can call it as a active filter. Okay, so but this is a passive filter made of resistors and capacitors. So one T network is made up of two resistors and a capacitor. Okay, while the other uses two capacitor and one resistor. Okay, that means one network makes use of two resistor and one capacitor, whereas another network makes use of two capacitors and single resistor. Two capacitors and single resistor. So notch out frequency is the frequency at which the maximum attenuation occurs. Okay, so attenuation means the voltage is zero, output voltage is zero, and then we can say that that frequency is totally blocked by the filter. Okay, notch filter, totally blocked. For example, as we have seen, 60 hertz power line, 60 hertz rejection. Okay, so single frequency is successfully blocked. Okay. So that notch frequency, Fn, the attenuation frequency or the notch out frequency, Fn stands for notch out frequencies 1 by 2 pi RC. Okay, so this is the T network base. If you can see in this network, one network consists of two resistors and one capacitors, whereas another network consists of two capacitors and one resistor. Okay, so that's the notch filter. Okay, so that is used at the input of the op-amp. Okay, so the input signal is given to this passive filter, that is notch filter, which acts as a narrowband rejection filter, and the output is obtained across the output of the op-amp. Okay, so if you analyze, just a second. Okay, yes, if you analyze the circuit, what we can observe is that, see, generally when we have a capacitor, there is a, see, for example, resistor and a capacitor, for example. Something like this. I've written badly. Let me go to the. Okay, yeah, here we go. It is a resistor and the capacitor, something like this. Okay, so in this case, it will allow low frequency signals. Okay, it acts as a low pass filter. So capacitor at the input and resistor to the ground is a high pass filter because it will allow high frequency signal and block the low frequency signal. Very simple. Okay, so if you observe this combination, we have combinations of low pass and high pass filters. Okay, yes, the idea behind this network is something like this. In in the wideband filter, what we saw is that we had the this is high pass filter circuit. Whenever the capacitor comes first, it is a high pass filter. Whereas whenever the resistor comes first, it is a low pass filter. Very simple. Okay, So now we have to have a combination of low pass and high pass filters such that it acts as a band rejection filter, and the two that should be connected parallelly. It should be in a parallel connection. This we discussed, as we discussed in the last class. So in this case, two two T networks connected parallelly like this, which gives a narrow narrow band pass rejection filter. Somebody is on the line. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Yes, let's try to analyze the circuit. Let's say, for example, we are applying the input voltage. What will happen is, say, this is a resistor network. Correct? This path is a resistor network. Whereas this path, if you see, when this impedance of this capacitor is on what basis this capacitor impedance of this capacitor depends? It depends on frequency and the value of the capacitance 1 by 2 pi fc. C is constant, so it depends only on the frequency. Okay. Lower the frequency, higher is the impedance. That means at a very low frequency, this will block the signal. Okay, so at low frequency, the impedance of this network is very, very high. Okay, so as the frequency increases, then this acts as a short. That means it acts as a short circuit, so it will allow the high frequency signal. But observe this network, guys. What is happening here is, here there is one more capacitor here, okay. So this capacitor also allows signal. This also acts as a short for high frequency signal. That means at some point both these two capacitors acts as a short. Okay. Now observe these two connection. These two components. That is what I'm talking is these two components. These two components are parallel network. Okay. So what happens when the resistor and capacitor are in parallel? Okay. So we have a situation where we have resistor and capacitor in parallel network. Okay. In this case, the resistance of this is R by 2, and the capacitance of this is, see, it is 2 times capacitance. 2 times capacitance. Let us call it as XC, for example, XC2, just to understand. So this XC2 depends on 1 by 2 pi FC2, F2C actually, F2C. Okay, that means capacitance is larger. If capacitance is larger, impedance is smaller. Okay. So for larger value of capacitance, the impedance is smaller, and hence it acts as a short circuit. Okay, that means at some frequency, that is for a given frequency, the impedance is very small. Okay, for a given value of capacitance. The idea is these two capacitors as a value of C. Okay, so for these two value of capacitors, both these capacitors acts as a short for a given frequency. Let us call it as F1, for example. Okay, so this F1 is applied to this parallel network, where one side is the resistance, other side is the capacitance, impedance of the capacitance. Okay, so the input frequency for this network is F1. Input frequency for this network is F1. Okay, so there is a parallel network. So in this parallel network, this resistance is fixed. So the impedance of this network depends only on this impedance. This impedance depends on the first is frequency F1, and another is the value of the capacitance. Okay, so for a given, now we are taking the double the capacitance. Double the value of capacitance, double the capacitance. Impedance is much smaller. For example, if you take the impedance of these two capacitors as XC1, for example, XC1, and impedance of this capacitor as XC2, okay, so then we can observe that XC2 is much smaller than XC1. Why? Because capacitance is larger. Okay, that means at particular frequency, this acts as a short circuit, and that short circuit means the signal is shorted to ground. That means at that frequency, the signal is shorted to ground. That frequency output voltage becomes 0. Output voltage at a frequency, let us say for example F1, output voltage is 0. Okay, that means at that frequency, output voltage is 0. The output is reduced to 0 at that particular frequency. Thereby, we can say that at that frequency, the signal of the frequency Fn is completely blocked by the filter because output voltage is 0. Say what is gain? V0 by Vin. Okay, so at that frequency F1, for example, if V0 is 0, that means the filter is blocking the frequency F1. Very simple. Okay, so that's how the circuit works. This resistor and capacitor network works. So there is a that is the advantage of having this what you call resistor and capacitor in parallel. Here what we have to understand is what is the role of this resistance. What happens if there is no resistance? Let us imagine that this resistor is not used, for example. What will happen? So these three capacitors are in parallel. Imagine that there is no resistance. These three capacitors are in parallel. Okay, so when, and moreover, what we have to observe is this resistor, sorry, is a DC component, whereas this capacitor is AC component. So because of this resistor in parallel with the capacitor, impedance of this network can be adjusted. Okay, see, we cannot adjust the impedance of 2C. Why? Because 2C impedance is XC2, C2, 2C, for example. Okay, X2C, for example, X2C depends on 1 by 2 pi F2C. Very simple. Okay, here we cannot adjust the impedance. Why? Because frequency is fixed, C is fixed. How to adjust the impedance of this network? Use a resistor across the capacitor. Okay, use a resistor across the capacitor so that this impedance of this network can be adjusted. Okay, so we can adjust the impedance in such a way that we can allow the frequency. We can adjust the frequency. That means we can vary this frequency Fn, so that at a little varied frequency we can allow the we can block a particular frequency Fn. Okay, so there's the advantage of having this network notch filter. Okay, so that's why the notch out frequency Fn, the output voltage becomes 0. Okay, and hence we can say that it acts as a narrowband filter. Okay, that's how it is. Very simple. That's this is also called as a twin T notch filter because it uses mainly uses 2 T filters. One T is made of 2 resistor and 1 capacitor. Another T network is made of 2 capacitors and 1 resistor. Very simple. Okay, active notch filter because in the first circuit we have only a resistor, this resistor and capacitor circuit. This is nothing but the passive filter. Along with the op amp, we can call it as a active filter. Okay. So we have a passive filter as well as active filter. Okay. So frequency response of the active. Okay, frequency response. We got this. Okay. So the active, passivity 20 network has a relatively low figure of merit. There is Q. So the Q of the network can be increased significantly if it is used with the voltage follower as shown in figure. Because see, only with the passive network, it doesn't give much, flexibility. See, only this passive network is of not much use. So we have to go for a op amp circuit. Okay, what is this op amp circuit? Is configuration. Output is connected to inverting input. That means it is acting as a voltage follower network. Okay, voltage follower circuit. It will allow output voltage is fed back to the input, so thereby it acts as a voltage. Advantage of this voltage follower network, is that the output device connected to this what you call, the this filter, there is this passive filter is isolated by the op amp circuit. This will say what is known as a, this will reduce what is known as a loading effect. This we have discussed. It will reduce the loading effect, thereby it acts as a it gives a voltage follower network as well as it avoids the loading effect on the passive network. Okay, so that's the advantage of using a voltage follower network. Of course, maybe if you want any amplification, we can use this as a inverting or a non-inverting amplifier. Thereby we can achieve a amplification also. So it's always possible. Whenever we have an op amp circuit, we have that flexibility. Okay. Okay. So the frequency response of the active, okay, is shown. Okay, fine. The most common use of this notch filter is in communications and biomedical instruments for eliminating undesired frequencies. For example, let's say we know that the source of noise is in a particular range. Okay, it's some particular range of frequencies. Then we can go for a what is notch filter. So to eliminate the signal of that particular noise frequencies. So design notch filter for a particular notch out frequency FN. So first select the value of C. It's always the good practice to start with the selection of a capacitor less than 1 microfarad, because we know that larger the capacitor, bulk is the circuit, as well as this capacitor, since it's AC element, it will alter the frequency of operation of the circuit. So we have to be very careful while selecting the capacitor and calculate the required value of R. What is the frequency? What is the formula? Fn is equal to 1 by 2 by RC. So we know the value of C. We know means we have selected the value of C. Let's say, for example, 0.1 or 0.01 microfarad. So based on that, find the value of R for a given value of notch out frequency Fn. Okay. So for the best response, the circuit component should be very close to their indicated values. That means the standard values what we select should be very close to their indicated value, so that there is calculated value, so that we can achieve best response from the notch filter. That is narrow band pass, band reject filter. One example, for example, C is equal to 0.068 microfarad. Because as I said, this the capacitor value should also be from a standard value. This actually I shared in the group. As a group, you can go through this. This standard resistor and capacitor table. So we have a standard capacitor table also. This is very important. Capacitor also we have to select from the standard capacitor table. For example, in this example, the author has selected the value of capacitor as 0.068 microfarad. 0.068, yeah, here it is. Observe this, under the microfarad range, 0.068 microfarad. Okay. See, the question is, we can select any value. There is a 0.1 microfarad or 0.056. There are different options. Okay, but the selection depends on the knowledge that capacitance is a very huge element, and so hence we have to carefully select. See, for example, if you see the capacitance range, guys, it starts from, let me zoom out so that we can, yeah, something like this we can okay. So this is, it starts from picofarad range. See, we have even 5 picofarad, very small value. Okay, maximum range itself is microfarad. That to what? 10,000 microfarad maximum value. That means it is I think 10 millifarad maximum. Okay, so it is in the microfarad. All communication networks deals with very small value of capacitance: microfarad, nanofarad, picofarad, a very small value. Okay? Very small value of capacitance, and that too it should be from a standard capacitor value. As you observe that, for a capacitor there is a standard capacitor values. Okay, whereas for a resistor, if you observe the resistor values, there is a potentiometer also. For resistance, there is a potentiometer standard value. Okay, for a capacitor, there is no standard potentiometer values. Why? Because whenever we go for a capacitor, we always go for a fixed value of capacitor, not a variable capacitor. Whereas in a resistance, we can go for a variable capacitor, which is called as a potentiometer. It's because it gives flexibility. Capacitance selection is very important. Okay, yeah. Yes, okay, yeah. So C value is selected as 0.068 microfarad. As I said, we can try with another value also. For example, let us say we saw some 0.05, some 0.05 something, I forgot the value. 0.0, what was that? 0.056 microfarad. That with that also we can start. Nothing wrong, for 0.506 microfarad also we can start. No problem. Okay? Yeah. So from this value, the value of R for a given value of frequency was 60 Hz, frequency was 60 Hz, correct. Okay, so frequency is 60 Hz, 60 Hz, correct, 60 Hz. The value of R is 39.01 kilo. That is the calculated value. Okay, so whatever R value we are getting here is the calculated value. But as we have just now understood that we have to go for a what is known as a the standard value. Okay, so standard value is always usage of standard value is always recommended. So we have to go for a, just a second, yeah, it is important. Okay, we have to go for a what is known as standard value. Okay? So for 39.01 kilo, what is the standard value? Okay, so if you see the standard value of the capacitance, 39 kilo, under 5% tolerance. I think the author has selected the 5% tolerance. See, if you go for what is the difference in terms of tolerance is that if you go for 1% tolerance, you can see that there is some fraction resistor also available. Standard value of resistor is also available. If you go for 10% tolerance, it is a you don't get a fractional values. For example, it is a 10% tolerance in kilo ohm range. In the value is, let's say, 2.2. Next value is 2.7. If you go for 1% tolerance, in the kilo ohm range, you have, for example, let's look into this. The values, look at this case, we have the values between 2.21, 2.43, 2.67, likewise. Okay, so you've got various range of values under 1% tolerance. If you go for 5% tolerance, there's slight fractions, not as much as in 1% tolerance, not as low as in 10% tolerance. Okay, so the value is, what was the value? Is resistor value 39.01 kilo. The nearest value for this resistance is for the value of 39.01 kilo. Is that okay? 39 kilo ohm range. Let me just kilo. Yeah, here we go. Somewhere here. 39 here. See, one value is this value lies between 39 kilo ohm and the 43 kilo ohm. Okay. If we select 43, what will happen is this Fn. This Fn, if you select 43 instead of 39 kilo ohms, this Fn will no more be equal to 60 hertz. Why? Because larger the value of resistance, smaller is the Fn. Fn reduces, but we want Fn to be very close to 60 hertz. Okay, so and hence the best bet for this 39.01 kilo ohm is 39 kilo ohms. Okay, so that's how we have to select. It's, see, general rule for selection of resistor is always smaller value of resistance. This we had understood, but selection should also be based on these factors. For example, let us say in some case the selection of resistance will not affect any other component. For example, it will not affect the frequency or some other factors. Then we can go for a little varied values. For example, instead of 39, maybe we can select 43, possible. But in this case, since resistance is affecting the the notch out frequency, so we have to very carefully select the resistance so that it will not alter the, see, even now instead of 39.01 kilo ohm, if we select 39 kilo ohm, it will alter Fn, but not that much. Okay, so Fn will not alter not much. It's tolerable. It is okay. That's how it is. Okay, yeah, that's how it is. Okay, next type of filter is called as a all-pass filter. Okay, so as the name suggests, all-pass filter passes all frequency components. Okay, that means if you take the input signal, this is the input sinusoidal input AC. You cannot say sinusoidal signal. It can be triangular, or it can be square, whatever it is. Okay, so from low frequency signal to high frequency signal, okay, it will pass all the frequency signal. That is called as a all pass filter. Very simple. Okay, so that means input signal is not attenuated. All the frequency signals are passed by the filter, while providing predictable phase shifts for different frequencies of the input signal. Okay, fine. What will happen in this all pass filter is that, okay, because see, we know that this op amp, when we use op amp in the inverting amplifier configuration, the input signal is phase shifted by 180 degree. This we know that, when it is in inverting mode, it will phase shifted by 180 degree. Okay, but if used in a non-inverting mode, the phase shift is 0 degree, which is beneficial. I mean, say phase shift, if it is not really an issue, then we can go for a inverting amplifier. Phase shift is a major issue, we can go for a non-inverting amplifier. But that too, phase shift should not be an issue. In most of the cases, phase shift is not an issue. In such case, we can go for inverting amplifier, because inverting amplifier has lot of advantages over what is known as a non-inverting amplifier. Okay, so thereby in this all pass filter, the signal, all the signal frequencies are passed, but the only difference is that there is some slight phase shift in the signal. Okay, because of the phase shift provided by the resistor and capacitor components, that is filter components, as well as because of the operational amplifiers. Okay, in fact, even if guys, if you are studied in the BJT also, bipolar junction transistor also will provide a 180-degree phase shift. Okay, so that is the actually basis for the discussion of our next topic. Second part of this chapter, that transistor or for example will provide a 180-degree phase shift. The feedback network will provide another 180-degree phase shift. So thereby total phase shift is 360-degree. This is one of the criteria for the Barkhausen criteria. One of the criteria in Barkhausen criteria which needs to be satisfied for the generation of oscillations. Okay, so this what you call the phase shift is important. So when signals are transmitted over a transmission lines such as telephone lines, they undergo change in phase. Obviously, because over long distance transmission, definitely there's a phase shift in the signals, phase changes at least. To compensate for these phase changes, all pass filters are required. Okay, so to compensate that, we can go for a all pass filter, because this in addition provides the phase shift to nullify the phase shift introduced by the telephone lines, so thereby it can be used to reduce the phase shift of the signal. So the all pass filter are also called as a delay equalizers, or it is also called as a phase correctors. Okay, for example, as we just now understood, the transmission lines provide some phase shift which can be nullified using a what is known as all pass filter, all pass filters, with the intention that to reduce the phase shift introduced by the transmission lines. Okay, so the all pass filters are also okay. The okay. Okay, shows the all pass filter RF is equal to R1. The output. Okay, let us look into the circuit, guys. Okay, so all pass filter RF is equal to R1. Okay, the output voltage V0 of the filter can be obtained by using the superposition theorem. Okay, okay. First, let us look into the circuit. Then we'll come back to this. Here we go. Okay, yes, this is the circuit for the what is known as all pass filter. Okay, so this is the input voltage applied. This is the I guess what kind of circuit is this, guys? By the way, we are applying voltage to both inverting amplifier as well as non-inverting amplifier. It's a difference amplifier. Basically it's a differential amplifier. Why? Because input voltages are applied to both the input voltages. It's input terminals, so it will take the difference of those two voltages. So R1 is a fixed resistance, R is a potentiometer. So RF is taken as R, so that the gain is equal. See, whenever there is a negative feedback, what is the gain? Gain is minus RF by R1. Minus RF by R1. If RF is equal to R1, the gain is equal to minus 1. This minus 1 indicates that input voltage is phase shifted. Input voltage is phase shifted by the circuit. Okay, but if you observe at the non-inverting input terminal, this is a combination of it is like a high pass filter. Sorry, low pass filter. It is a low pass filter, RNC combination. In this case, this RNC combination is providing some phase shift. Okay, so this phase shift provided by this component, in addition to the phase shift provided by the negative feedback. Okay, such that output voltage is generated with some phase shift. That we let us look into this waveform. Let us understand with respect to this waveform. Yes, yeah, here we go. Observe this. This is the input voltage. The thick line is input voltage, and this dotted line is output voltage. So thereby, if you observe this, output voltage with respect to input voltage, there is a phase shift of around 90 degree. There is a phase shift of around 90 degree. What was the actual phase shift supposed to be? This? Imagine that there is no this this network. Imagine that this non-inverting network is not there. For example, let us say this non-inverting network is not there. What is the phase shift? Phase shift should be minus 180 degree, right? Should have been, say for example, in the absence of this a non-inverting input network. If the positive voltage is applied, output voltage should be negative voltage, negative cycle. Okay, but it is not so, because if only inverting input is used, total phase shift is minus 180 degree. Whereas this RNC network now introduces some delay or some phase angle such that this network now is not only inverting amplifier, it's no more inverting amplifier. Why? Because it is a difference amplifier. Okay, this difference amplifier, say, ideally what should happen is, guys, observe this, it is something like this. Ideally, difference of these two voltages, what is the difference of these two voltages? Zero. Say, input voltage is applied to both the network. This is also V in, here also V in. Difference of these two should be zero. That is, VD should be equal to 0. V out should also be equal to 0, ideally. It is not so. Why? Because at the non-inverting input terminal there is a capacitor. What does this capacitor does is, it will charge to the this input voltage. Because of that, it will start discharging to the non-inverting input terminal. Thereby, the difference voltage is no more 0 voltage, and the phase shift is because of the phase shift provided by this RNC network, as well as phase shift provided by the feedback network, which is equal to minus 180 degree, and the phase shift provided by this RC network is such that total phase shift of the output voltage is only 90 degree. Total phase shift of the output is 90. In this also, guys, for example, let us say input, if it is something like this, it is a low pass filter at the input what we have right now. Okay, if it is an high pass filter, then the phase shift is different. Then the phase shift is, it may not be 90 degree, it may be minus 90 degree. Okay, possible. Okay, so in this network, network provided in this circuit shown, the phase shift is only 90 degree. It's a positive 90 degree now. Why? Because for positive cycle, say, what is what it is not exactly, it's minus 180 degree. Why? Because when the input voltage is 0, for example, observe this, when the input voltage is 0, output voltage is negative peak. Okay, and when the input voltage reaches positive peak, output voltage is 0, and when the input voltage again reaches 0, output voltage is positive. Okay, so phase shift is approximately 90 degree. Phase shift is 90 degree. So that's how this all. Okay, so ultimate intention here is that we are able to pass the signal of various frequency without any attenuation, but there is a limitation that we will understand. Okay, so the all pass filters also called as a delay equalizer, because as we can see, there is a phase shift of for this network, for the circuit shown in the in this topic, the phase angle is 90 degree. Phase angle is 90 degree. Of course, we can design the all pass filter for different angle also, phase angle also. Okay. Also called as a phase correction circuit, phase correctors. Shows all pass filter with RF is equal to R1, so that voltage gain is equal to 1. So the output voltage V naught of the filter can be obtained using. Okay, this derivation is not shown here. It is in the what you call appendix that I have not scanned. That I will scan it and I'll share with you guys. Okay. So for timing, let us not go into the derivation. Of course, we need to understand the derivation, but derivation as it is not expected here. We need to understand the concept. Okay, that's the intention. So output voltage is equal to minus V in. Why minus V in? Because the difference, amplifier voltage and difference amplifier is configuration is used, and the feedback is provided to inverting input. Minus JXC, that is because of the capacitor. Okay, R minus divided by R minus JXC into V in, input voltage. Okay, so this impedance of the capacitance depends on the frequency, because C is a fixed value. XC depends on the XC is inversely proportional to frequency, 1 by E. Sorry, I don't know what I'm writing. Inversely proportional to frequency. Okay, so output with J is equal to minus J is equal to 1 by J. That's rearranging this expression, and XC is equal to 2 pi FC. We can make we write the output expression as V naught is equal to V in minus 1 plus 2 by J 2 pi FC plus 2 pi FC F RC plus 1. Okay, because in this expression, what we can observe is these all the factors are almost constant factors. RC is constant, input voltage is constant. It depends only on the frequency. Okay, how it depends? As the frequency increases, okay, this factor decreases. As frequency increases, denominator increases, this factor decreases. As this factor decreases, this factor further decreases because it is minus of minus plus. So this factor decreases, this component further decreases. So output voltage varies with respect to the frequency. Okay, that's what it is. Output voltage is same as in terms of shape. In terms of shape of the signal, output voltage is same as the input voltage, but there is a phase shift. That phase shift depends on the basically RC components, values of RC, and ultimately depends on the frequency of the input signal also. Okay, so rearranging V0 by Vi, we can rearrange this expression like this, where F is the frequency of the input signal in hertz. That's the standard unit of the frequency. Okay, so the equation, this one, 718, indicates that the amplitude of V0 by Vn is unity. So from this expression, amplitude, see the gain is 1. V0 by Vn, that's the gain, which is equal to 1 because output is same as the input. See, shape wise, it is same as the input signal. That's why gain is 1. But phase shift is not so. That is V0 is equal to Vn throughout the useful frequency. Why? What is useful frequency range? That we'll understand. Okay, and the phase shift between V0 and Vn is a function of the input frequency. Why? Because RC is a constant value and all other 1 by 1, 2 pi j all are constant. It only depends on frequency f. Okay, there is a phase angle depends on frequency f. What is the phase angle? Minus 2 tan inverse 2 pi f RC by 1. So RC is a fixed quantity. It depends only on the frequency of the input signal f. As the frequency varies, phase shift of the output signal with respect to input signal also varies. Okay, so phi is measured in degrees, f in hertz, R and C are the standard unit. So is used to find the phase angle. Okay, shows the phase shift of 90 degree between input and output. V0 lags V in by 90 degree. Okay, that's fine. V0 is lagging by input because of the R and C component and arrangement. So the phase angle phi changes from 0 to minus 20 degree as the frequency is varied from 0 to infinity. Okay, fine. So that means as the frequency is varied from 0 hertz to infinite hertz. So 0 hertz means it is a DC. Infinite hertz is very huge. Okay, the phase shift can go from 0 to maximum of minus 180 degree. Maximum phase shift can only be, see, because phase shift 180 degree indicates, okay, this what is the meaning of phase shift 180 degrees? When the input is positive, output becomes negative, and when the input is negative, output is positive. This output is obtained. This is as good as the characteristics of an inverting amplifier. Okay, that means phase difference should go from 0 to minus 180 degree. Why it is minus? Because it's a inverting nature. This is possible for a very large frequency of the input signal, very large. It is in terms of gigahertz. Very huge frequency of the input signal. Okay, so so if the position of RNC, okay, yes, this is what I was talking about. If RNC is changed, interchanged, that is C first, then R network, which is acts as a high pass filter. The phase shift between the input and output becomes positive. Okay, so it acts as a high pass filter. The phase shift becomes positive. Now it is negative for a low pass filter. It becomes positive for a high pass filter configuration. Okay, that is V0 leads the input voltage. That's fine. Okay, yes, in this case, one point we have to, of course, design before we go to the design. Any other? Okay. Okay, fine. That we'll look into that. Okay, because in this case, there's one statement. There is throughout the useful frequency range. What is the meaning of useful frequency range? Okay, because the thing is, we know that op-amp has a maximum frequency of operation. Maximum frequency of operating range. There is, for example, this is 741 op-amp. We know that unity gain bandwidth. Unity gain. The spelling is wrong. for a unity gain bandwidth range, unity gain bandwidth, which is equal to 1 megahertz. 1 megahertz. What does it mean? That is, without any feedback, the maximum frequency of the input that can be applied to the operational amplifier without any feedback, without any kind of positive or negative feedback, the maximum input frequency that can be applied to the op-amp 741 is approximately 1 megahertz. 1 megahertz. If the frequency is above 1 megahertz, the output voltage becomes 0. Output voltage is less than 1. If the output voltage is less than 1, we can call it as a attenuator. It's no more amplifier. It becomes a attenuator. It becomes a attenuator. Okay. Are we using op-amp as an amplifier or an attenuator is the question. If we are using amplifier, the op-amp as an amplifier, then what we expect is that output voltage should be greater than 1, at least, so that we can achieve some amplification. If you are using op-amp as an attenuator, then output voltage will be less than 1. So for that, we can apply a very large frequency signal. Even if you don't want, it will start attenuating. Okay. So that means the maximum frequency with which an op-amp can work without any additional circuitry. See, this frequency can be increased, which is not part of our course, but this frequency of operation can be increased for a given op-amp using additional circuitry. Okay. Is possible. Without that, we are assuming that we are not using any additional circuitry to increase the operational range of a op-amp. Then, okay, then then the maximum frequency of the signal that can be allowed by the op-amp is 1 megahertz. This is the meaning of useful frequency range, because if the frequency is above 1 megahertz, for example, for a 741 op-amp, then output starts attenuating. What we expect here is in an all-pass filter that output voltage should not attenuate. This output voltage, whatever we have here, this should not attenuate. This should not attenuate. That is, amplitude should not decrease. Amplitude should be same as the input voltage. With that assumption, we have to apply the input signal with a particular frequency. For a 741 op-amp, the maximum frequency we can apply for which the op-amp works without any attenuation is approximately 1 megahertz. But of course, there are some op-amps which can work for more than 1 megahertz. We can select appropriate op-amp for a required frequency range. Okay, so that is the meaning of what is known as a useful frequency range. That's it. That's it. Okay. Simple design example for a phase angle. Find the phase angle for a frequency of 1 kilohertz. Very simple. Okay. So from the formula, you can directly get it as minus 90 degrees. Okay. This means that output voltage V0 has the same frequency and amplitude. Say, observe this. Output has the same frequency and same amplitude, but lags behind input voltage by 90 degrees. If there is no frequency and there is no amplitude, then we cannot call it as an all-pass filter. Okay. For all-pass filter, the condition is it should have the same frequency as well as same amplitude. This is very important. Yes, okay. So this is what is known as a all-pass filter. Okay. So the advantage of integrated circuit, number of manufacturers now for ready to use. Okay. That means filters are available as a integrated circuit. High pass, band pass. Okay. Notch and all pass available, combining these output responses in the uncommitted op-amp. Okay. Because of its versatility, the filter is also called as a universal filter. Okay. It provides the user with a easy control of the gain and Q factor. Okay. So whenever there is op-amp, there is a Q factor. The universal filter sometimes is called as a state variable filter. Okay. State variable filter case we will not discuss here. We will discuss in control system, not in your course, control system course. But anyway, that's another part of the discussion, another applications of a operational amplifiers. It's okay, done. Yes, and the next is the for 2 minutes we'll discuss the introduction to second part of the unit. There is what is known as voltage regulators. Okay, so second part of this unit is what is known as a DC voltage regulators. DC voltage regulators. Let us look into this. We have spent little more time on okay, so let us straight away jump to topic. Okay, so what is a DC voltage regulator? DC supply is required by electronic circuits, normally derived by a transforming and rectifying. Very simple, correct? We know that there is AC signal is generated by the generators. So this is converted into it is first transformed. That is step down to a smaller voltage. Okay, step down. Okay, so after step down, it is converted into DC. DC by using what is known as a rectifiers. By using there is diodes, for example, using rectifiers. Of course, rectifiers can be implemented using op amps also. That's a different issue. That is known as a precision rectifiers. Anyway, okay. So this is a basic rectification process, and the standard domestic or industrial. Okay, so standard for standard domestic and industrial applications. So the raw DC voltage produced in this way is not sufficiently stable for most of the purpose, and it is usually contains unacceptably large ripple waveform. Okay, that means the waveform, the signal rectified by the diode circuit consists of you know ripple voltages. This we have seen in our labs also. That is there is filter circuit, diode filter circuit. The output voltage is supposed to be pure DC. It is supposed to be DC, but it consists of ripple voltage because of the the diode rectification factor. So this is not it doesn't result in a proper DC signal. Okay, which is not suitable for most of the applications. So the DC voltage regulator circuits are employed to stabilize the voltage and to attenuate the ripple. So our intention is, what is stabilization, guys? Okay, let us understand stabilization in the sense, let us say for example, there is a variation in the input voltage, input AC. There is a variation in the input voltage, but still the output DC should be constant. Let us say for example, if it is fixed at 2 volts, even if there is a slight variation in the input AC, output voltage should be constant at 2 volts, and this ripple should be reduced. This ripple should be minimized. Ripple voltage should be minimized. Okay. So for that, we go for what is known as a voltage regulator circuits. All voltage regulators employ a Zener diode. Zener diode, I think you have studied in ADC or ADC. I think you have studied in ADC. Zener diode circuit, which works when it is reverse biased. So it acts as a stable reference voltage source. Okay, so Zener diode is useful as a to provide a stable voltage when it is reverse biased. Zener diode with a series resistance can be used as a simple low current voltage regulator. Okay, the addition of transistor allows large load current to be supplied. Okay, so when we have a transistor or an op amp, this can be amplified. The current can be amplified. The vast improvement in regulator performance results when an error amplifier is added to detect and amplify the difference between the regulator output and the reference voltage. It's okay. We'll discuss this. We'll discuss this in detail. The operation of the voltage regulator circuit. So that means error signal is generated, that is amplified and detected to amplify the difference between the regular output of the regulator and the reference voltage. So if this error signal is detected and amplified, we can improve the performance of a voltage regulators. So IC operation amplifier, okay, ideal amplifier, okay, fine, no problem. Okay. So IC network is always better, it gives a stable performance. Okay, it gives a better performance. So complete DC voltage regulator circuits are available in integrated IC form. Some of them are used in different types of voltage regulators. Others are simply connected to a suitable supply to produce a fixed voltage. Okay, here we go. No problem. In most of our mobile applications, charging units, it is nothing but a voltage regulators. That is stable voltage regulators. That's why it's called as a regulated power supply. In the place in the ADC lab also, we had that for a transistor experiment in ADC lab, we had one DC supply that is called as a regulated power supply, RPC. So it's called as RPC units. Yes, this network this I don't know what's it. Oh, guys, it's already 12:15. Okay, yes, with this I'll wind up because I was issue with this open board software. I'm not able to switch also. This is in a hand position. Wait for a minute. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So I was talking about that regulated power supply, RPC. Why it is called as a regulated power supply? Fine. Power supply means it provides a DC voltage, no problem. What is this regulated? So this gives a standard. For example, if it gives 15 volts, irrespective of variation in the input voltage, input AC, it gives a constant 15 DC source. That's what it's called as a. In for microcontrollers also, what we are discussing, processor and controllers in our course, there also we have to apply 5 volts. Okay, and this 5 volts should be fixed volt. I mean, uh, if the voltage is less than 4.5 volts, the microcontroller is going to restart. Microcontroller or microprocessor is going to restart. Okay, and it should not be greater than 5 volts also. It should not be more than 5 volts also. Okay, the voltage should be within 4.5 to 5 volts DC. DC. Okay, it should be stable source. Then we go for a what is known as regulated power supply, which is called as a DC regulator supply. Okay, it's fine. We'll continue with this DC regulator in the next class. Okay. I guess hold on a second. I don't know what is the. Okay, it's already reduced to 58. Class 10. No problem. Okay. Okay. Yes. Thanks for joining. Okay. See you in the next class. Take care. Okay. Stay home. Stay safe. Take care. Yes, I've shared the textbook pages also for the third, fourth, and fifth unit. You refer that. Since I don't know, many of you are not able to access the textbook, that's why I shared it. You go through that, guys. Download it and start studying. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Take care. Bye. Bye.